I want to try a little visualization experiment to kick things off today.
Oh, okay. I'm in.
I want you to close your eyes, unless you're driving, and imagine a tree.
Okay. A tree. What kind?
A fig tree. A massive, sprawling, green fig tree.
Got it.
And you are sitting in the crotch of this tree. You're nestled right in there where the branch... And here's the kick. You are starving.
I'm sitting in a fruit tree, surrounded by food, but I'm starving.
That is the central paradox. You aren't starving because the tree is barren. You are starving because you cannot choose which fig...
Ah, I know where we were going. We are stepping into the mind of Sylvia Plath.
We are indeed. This is the famous fig tree analogy from her novel, The Bell Jar.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to start here because I think this specific image captures a feeling that is almost an endemic condition, maybe now more than ever.
It really is.
It's not just about hunger. It's about the paralysis of choice.
It's the ultimate FOMO, fear of missing out, but on a life-altering scale.
Exact. Plath describes these figs hanging above her, and each one represents a different life seed.
Right.
One fig is a husband and a happy home and children. That's the traditional path, right? The domestic bliss.
The 1950s ideal, for sure.
Right. But then there's another fig. This one is a famous poet. And another fig is a brilliant professor.
Another's E.G., the amazing editor.
And another is Europe and Africa, traveling the world.
And then there's the one that always surprises me, the Olympic crew champion.
Yes. She wants to be an athlete, a scholar, a mother, a traveler, a hedonist, all of it.
All ones.
She looks up and sees a beautiful, plump possibility, and she says, I saw myself sitting in the crotch of this fig tree, starving to death, just because I couldn't make up my mind which of the figs I would...
And here's the line that haunts. I wanted each and every one of them, but choosing one meant losing all the rest.
That is the terror, isn't it?
It is.
It's the opportunity cost. If you pick the famous poet fig, you might lose the happy home fig. You can't be everything.
You just can't.
And because she can't decide, because she wants to live all the shades, tones, and variations of experience, she does nothing.
And the figs begin to rot.
They wrinkle. They go black.
Oh, it's such a brutal image.
And one by one, they plop to the ground at her feet, gone.
It is such a violent image of passivity.
Yeah.
By not choosing, you are still making a choice. You're choosing to let them all die.
It hits me right in the gut. I think about this constant. We have one life. We have a limited amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, you can't be the Olympic champion and the wandering bohemian poet. You have to pick a lane.
You do.
And that feeling of starvation, Plath describes, that desire to devour the whole world, is what we are really digging into today.
It's a perfect entry point.
Yeah.
Because today, we aren't just analyzing Sylvia Plath's psychology.
Right.
We are doing a deep dive into writing fiction with emotional honesty.
That is the mission. We have a stack of sources here. Articles, literary analysis, excerpts from some heavy-hitting novels that all circle around this idea.
A really fascinating idea.
How do authors take that specific internal pain, that paralysis fig tree, and put it on a page so effectively that, 50 years later, we're sitting here feeling?
It's a question of craft, but it's also a question of
courage.
How do you make a reader cry? How do you make them feel comfortable or falling in love or absolutely terrified?
It can't just be the plot.
No. The consensus from our research today is that it's not about having a clever plot. It's not about using big words.
It's about getting naked.
Metaphorically, yes.
Yes, metaphorically.
Writing naked.
Yeah.
It's about tapping into those deep, often scary internal wells of emotion.
And before anyone teens out thinking, well, I'm not a novelist, I just write emails to my boss. Hold on.
Right. This isn't just for writers.
No, this isn't just a creative writing seminar. This is a look at human connection. It's about empathy.
Absolutely. It's about how we understand ourselves by pretending to be other people. Whether you're writing a diary entry, a memoir, or just trying to understand why a certain movie made you weep uncontrollably, this deep dive is going to explain the mechanics of that emotional trance.
We've got a lot to cover. We're going to look at the difference between factual truth and emotional truth with Tim O'Brien.
A huge.
We're going to look at vulnerability with Jennifer Probst. We're going to talk about harnessing terror with Margaret Atwood.
And we're going to finish with some practical exercises on how to find your own hotspot.
It's going to be a journey from the head to the heart and finally to the gut.
So where do we start?
So let's start with the head. Or maybe the math. Because Sylvia Plath wasn't writing a diary when she wrote about it. She was writing a novel called The Bell Jar.
Right. It's fiction, but it's a specific kind of fiction.
There's a term for it in our notes. Roman à clef.
Roman à clef. It's French.
It is French. Novel.
Precisely. The key implies that there is a code to be broken. A roman à clef is a novel about real life, real people, and real events, but it's presented through a fictional facade.
A thin one sometimes.
A very thin one. The names are changed, the locations might be tweaked, but the core event events are reality.
So in The Bell Jar, the protagonist is named Esther Greenwood. She wins an internship at a magazine in New York. She faces immense social pressure. She sinks into a depression. She attempts suicide.
And if you look at Sylvia Plath's life, she won an internship at Mademoiselle magazine in New York.
The same.
She faced immense pressure. She sank into depression. She attempted suicide. The overlap is nearly 100%.
So here's the question that always bugs me about this genre.
Okay.
If you were basically writing your autobiography, why bother with the mask? Why call her Esther? Why not just write a memoir and say, this is what happened?
That is the crucial question. Why do we need the facade?
Yeah, why?
And the sources we have suggest it's not about hiding. It's actually about seeing. It's about perspective. Think about it.
Okay.
If I ask you to write about your deepest shame right now, something you did yesterday that you regret, and you write it as, I did this, you instantly become defensive. Your ego gets involved.
For sure.
You try to justify yourself. I yelled at my partner, but I was really tired and they were being annoying.
Right. I'm protecting myself. I'm the hero of my own story, even when I'm being a jerk.
Exactly. But if I tell you, write a story about a character named Bob who yells at his partner, suddenly you have distance.
Oh,
You can look at Bob objectively.
Yeah.
You could describe the ugliness of his anger without feeling like you are being attacked.
So the fiction acts like a buffer zone. It creates enough safety that you can actually be more honest than if you were writing nonsense.
That's the theory. Virginia Woolf had this brilliant quote. She said, every secret of a writer's soul, every experience of his life, every quality of his mind is written large in his works.
In his work.
She didn't say in his memoir. She meant in the fiction. The fiction doesn't hide the truth. It magnifies it because the writer feels safe enough to put it all on the table.
That idea that fiction is a lie that tells leads us directly to one of the most fascinating figures in our stack today, Tim O'Brien.
Oh, the things they carry. This is a heavyweight champion of a book.
If you haven't read it, it's a collection of linked stories about a platoon of American soldiers in Vietnam.
And it is a mind bender.
It messes with your head in the best possible. It really does.
It deconstructs the entire idea of truth in war stories.
The book is labeled fiction. It says it right on the copy. But the main character is named Tim O'Brien.
Right.
He's a soldier. He's a writer. He's from the same hometown as the real author, Tim O'Brien.
So you start reading it and you assume naturally that this is a memoir. You think, okay, he is telling me exactly what happened in 1969.
But then he pulls the rug out from under you. He explicitly discusses the difference between what he calls happening truth and story truth. And I want to dig into this because it feels central to our theme of emotional honesty.
It is the core thesis of his work. It really is.
So happening truth, that's the forensic facts, right? Just the facts, man.
Yes. Happening truth is what a camera would record. At 1400 hours, Soldier A shot Soldier B.
Yeah.
The weather was 95 degrees. The terrain was mud.
It's dry.
It's accurate. It's verifiable. You could put it in a court report.
But O'Brien argues that happening truth is often useless, or at least emotionally barren.
He argues that facts can actually obscure the truth of the experience.
How so?
If I just tell you I saw a body, that's a fact. But it doesn't make you feel what it was like to be there. It doesn't transfer the horror.
It's just data.
It's just data. So he uses story truth.
Which is, say, making stuff up. Is that what it is?
It's inventing details or rearranging events or combining characters to create a feeling that is truer than the facts.
Okay, this is getting interesting.
It's where the art comes in.
There is this specific story in the book, The Man I Killed, and reading the notes on this, it just gave me chills. So graphic and so tender at the same time.
It is. It's one of the most memorable passages in war literature. I think about it all the time.
He describes the man he killed, a young Vietnamese soldier, and the details are excruciating. He describes him as a slim, dead, dainty young man of about 20. He talks about his jaw being in his throat. He talks about his cheek being smooth and hairless.
And the eye.
The eye? He says one eye is shut, but the other represents a star-shaped hole.
A star-shaped hole.
A star-shaped hole in his eye.
That image, star-shaped hole, it's so specific. It's beautiful and horrific at the same time.
And as a reader, you are there. You are standing on that trail looking at this dead boy. You feel Tim's guilt.
You really do.
You feel the waste of life. You reconstruct this boy's history. He liked math, maybe. He fell in love with a classmate. O'Brien invents an entire life for this corpse.
And it breaks your heart.
But then, later in the book, O'Brien confesses.
He admits that he might not have killed him.
He says that if his daughter were to ask him, Daddy, did you ever kill anyone? He could honestly say no.
And that would be the happening truth.
That is the happening truth. Maybe he didn't pull the trigger. Maybe he was just standing there when the mortar hit. Maybe he saw the body, but he didn't cause it.
But he can also honestly say yes.
Because he was there. Because he was part of the machine that killed him.
It was culpable.
Because he carries the guilt just as heavily as if he had used a knife.
This is the crux of it. If O'Brien had written the strict happening truth, I walked past a dead body today, we would have nodded and turned the page. We see dead bodies on the news every day. We are desensitized.
Right. Casualty count, 1. It means nothing.
But by using story truth, by saying, I killed him, and forcing us to look at that star-shaped hole in the dainty fingers, he makes the grief present.
That's it. He makes it present.
He says, I can attach faces to grief.
That line destroyed attach faces.
It's about resurrection. He says, I can make myself feel again. The fiction allows him to bypass the numbness of memory and access the raw emotion of the moment.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay, please do.
Is there an ethical line here? I mean, if I tell you a story about how my dog died to make you feel sad, and then I say, actually, I don't have a dog, aren't you going to feel manipulated?
That is a fair pushback. And O'Brien actually wrestles with this. He knows it's manipulative.
Okay.
But his argument is that the manipulation serves a higher purpose. He isn't trying to trick you for fun. He is trying to transfer a specific emotional burden.
So the goal is the transfer.
Yes. He wants you to feel the weight of Vietnam. If he has to lie about the facts to make you understand the truth of that weight, he thinks it's worth it.
So the goal isn't accuracy. The goal is resonance.
Exactly. Emotional resonance is the priority. He is prioritizing the stomach feel over the brain fact.
Feel. I like that.
It's all about the gut.
Which is a perfect segue to our next section. We're moving from the war-torn jungles of Vietnam to romance novels.
It seems like a jarring shift, doesn't it?
A little bit, but the source material suggests the mechanism is exactly the same.
It really is.
We're talking about writing naked, and this comes from Jennifer Probst, who is a very successful romance author.
And her advice applies to any kind of writing, or honestly, any kind of communication where you want to connect with people.
She calls it writing naked, which, again, sounds drafty, but what does she actually mean by that?
She means writing without the armor of looking good. It's about the willingness to be judged. She says that to truly hook a reader, you have to write from your real self. You have to spill your deepest secrets. You have to talk about the monsters under the bed.
She has this rule. Even if you are writing a love letter, spill deepest secrets, which sounds terrifying.
It does.
I mean, usually in a love letter, I want to sound suave. I want to sound perfect.
But perfection is boring, and perfection is untrustworthy. We don't connect with perfect people. We connect with people who struggle.
That's a really good point. So we have a case study from her book, Searching for Beautiful, and there is a specific scene that apparently reeks of emotion.
Yeah.
It's the wedding.
Right. The setup is classic. The protagonist, Genevieve, is 5 minutes away from walking down the aisle. She's in the dress, the guests are seated, the music is playing.
And she is freaking out.
Not just cold feet, it's a full-blown internal crisis. Her gut is screaming one word at her, R-O-N.
I love the internal monologue in this scene. She's fighting herself. She's calling this voice brattiness. She's scolding herself.
She's rationalizing.
She's thinking, my fiancé is so rational. He's a good man. I want this commitment. Why am I sabotaging this?
She is trying to use logic to beat back instinct, which is a battle we have all fought.
Totally. And in the book, logic wins. The family comes in, they calm her down, she takes a breath, and she walks down the aisle. She stays.
But here is the writing naked twist. Do you know the real story behind this scene?
I do, and it is wild. Jennifer Probst, the author, actually lived this moment. But in real life, she ran.
She didn't just walk away, she fled.
Through a church window?
Through a window. That is cinematic. I can't get over that.
So in real life, the gut voice won. She escaped. But in the book, she has the character stay. And I find that fascinating. Why change the end?
This is the what-if game. It's another form of story truth.
Ah, okay.
Probst knew intimately what it felt like to be in that room with the panic rising. She knew the terror of making a mistake. She knew the pressure of the family outside.
So she took that raw, real emotion, that heat, and she poured it into a different vessel.
Exactly. She used the fiction to explore the path she didn't take. What if I had stayed? What would have happened to that voice? Would it have gone away? Would it have destroyed the marriage?
It's almost like a simulation.
It is. And because she was tapping into a real trauma, the trauma of fleeing her own wedding, the scene in the book vibrates with authenticity. Even though the events are different, the feeling is real.
She was writing naked because she was exposing her own doubt. She was revisiting her own moment of panic.
And that's why readers respond to it. They don't know she ran through a window, but they can tell that the author knows what panic feels like. You can't fake that frequency.
It's like she opened an old wound to get the ink for the scene.
That is a visceral way to put it, but yes, that is the cost of emotional honesty. You have to bleed a little.
Speaking of bleeding and panic and terror, let's move to section 3.
Okay.
Because fear is a huge engine for storytelling. But our expert source, John Matthew Fox, makes a distinction that I think is really important.
The distinction between spooky fear and true terror.
Spooky fear is the fun stuff, right?
Yeah, that's vampires. That's the monster in the closet. That's the door creaking open when you're home alone.
A jump scare.
It's adrenaline. It's a roller coaster. You scream and then you laugh.
But true terror, that's different.
True terror is existential. It's the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
It's the fear that keeps you up at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling.
Fox lists some examples. The fear of a child dying, the fear of estrangement from a parent,
Ooh.
the fear of waking up at 60 and realizing you wasted your life on a career that meant nothing.
That last one, the wasted life fear.
Yeah.
That is the fig tree again, isn't it? The fear of the figs rotting.
It loops right back around. It's the same anxiety.
Exactly.
And Fox argues that a lot of writers, and just people in general, we try to avoid looking directly at true terror. It's too bright. It hurts our eyes.
So we write adjacent to it.
What does that mean, Ajay?
We write about zombies because it's easier than writing about our fear of dementia. It's a stand-in.
Got it. But the masters, the ones who write books that change the culture, they stare right at the sun.
They do.
And the prime example here is Margaret Atwood and The Handmaid's Tale.
I don't think there's a better example of harnessing collective terror.
So, The Handmaid's Tale. It's a dystopian nightmare. The United States has collapsed. It's been replaced by Gilead, a theocratic dictatorship. Women have lost all rights. They can't read. They can't own property. And fertile women are enslaved as handmaids to bear children for the elite.
It is horrifying. And for a long time, people thought, wow, what a dark imagination she has.
But Atwood is very clear about this. She didn't imagine any of it.
No.
She didn't make it up out of thin air. She just looked around.
This was the 1980s.
Yeah.
There was a conservative backlash against the feminist movement. There were debates about reproductive rights. There were regimes around the world rolling back women's freedoms.
She said she made a rule for the book. I would not put into this book anything that humankind has not already done somewhere, sometime, or for which it did not already have the tools.
That is the chilling part. It's not fantasy. It's a collage of reality.
Wow.
She took the political rhetoric of the time, things like a woman's place is in the home, and she took them to their logical end.
Logical end. That phrase scares me more than the vampire.
It should. She asked, if we keep going down this road, where is the terminal?
There is a concept she explores in the book that I think is so relevant to how we live now. The boiled frog.
Ah, yes. The physiological myth. If you drop a frog in boiling water, it jumps out. It senses the danger immediately.
Right.
But if you put it in a pot of cold water and slowly, gradually turn up the heat.
It sits there. It adjusts to the temperature. It gets comfortable. And it boils to death without ever realizing it was in danger.
Atwood uses this to describe how a society loses its freedom. It doesn't happen overnight.
No.
It happens by degrees.
Yeah.
A law changes here. A norm changes there. And people just adjust.
There is a quote from the book that captures this perfectly. The main character, Offred, said, "We lived as usual by ignoring. Ignoring isn't the same as ignorance. You have to work at it."
You have to work at it. That is such an indictment.
It's the active process. She says they read the newspapers and saw the bad news, but they treated them like bad dreams dreamt by others.
Man, that hits home. How often do we do that? You scroll through Twitter or watching the news, you see a war, you see a climate disaster, you see an injustice.
Did you just keep scrolling?
You think, that's terrible. And then you put your phone down and order a pizza.
We have to. If we let it all in, we'd collapse.
Right. It's a survival mechanism. But Atwood strips that mechanism away. She forces us to look at what happens when the water boils.
Yeah.
She is tapping into that true terror, that our normalcy is incredibly fragile.
And that's why the book is so effective. It's not scary because of the costumes or the rituals. It's scary because it feels possible.
It connects to other authors in our stack, too. Look at Michael Crichton. Jurassic Park isn't really about dinosaurs.
No, it's not.
It's about the terror of technology outpacing our wisdom.
Or Angie Thomas with The Hate U Give. She isn't writing about dragons. She's writing about the very real, very present terror of police brutality and systemic racism.
These authors are taking the anxieties that are floating around in the culture, the things we are all kind of worried about but trying not to think about, and they're crystallizing them.
Right.
They're saying, no, look at this.
Right.
Look at the star-shaped hole.
We've talked about lies, vulnerability, and terror. Now I want to shift to something that I think creates the most in character. The messy, the contradictions.
The human soup.
Cognitive dissonance, holding two opposing beliefs or feelings at the exact same time.
This is critical because in bad writing or just shallow storytelling, characters are one thing. They are the hero or the villain. They are happy or sad.
But in real life, I am never just one thing.
Never.
I'm usually excited about a project, but also dreading the work. I love my family, but I also need them to leave me alone for 5 minutes.
Exactly. There's that great line from The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I am both happy and sad.
It's simple, but it's accurate.
Donald Mass, who is a top literary agent, writes a lot about the emotional craft fiction. And he argues that readers are actually starving for these contradictions. We want fresh and unexpected feeling.
What does he mean by unexpected?
He means playing against the type. We expect a character to cry at a funeral, but what if they laugh? We expect a character to be happy at their wedding, but what if they want to run out the window?
It's the tender murderer.
The honest thief. Robert Browning called this the dangerous edge of things. That's where
We have the ultimate example of this in our notes, and I'm going to put a spoiler warning out here right now.
A big one.
We are going to discuss the ending of A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness.
Yes, if you haven't read it or seen the movie, pause this, go experience it, and come back, because this is the emotional core of the entire story.
Okay, assuming you're still with us, the setup is heartbreaking. Connor is a 13-year-old boy. His mom is dying of cancer.
It's the worst thing imaginable for a kid.
And he's plagued by a nightmare. A monster comes to him, and the monster demands the truth.
And for the whole book, you assume the truth is just that he's scared. You assume he's afraid she's going to die.
You think, oh, this is a story about grief.
Right, but that's not the secret truth. The monster pushes him and pushes him until finally Connor screams it out.
And what he screams is, I want it to be over.
He doesn't just want the pain to end. He wants her to go.
He admits that part of him wants his mother to die.
That is taboo. That is a monster thought. How can a child want his mother to die?
It seems evil.
But look at the context. The waiting is unbearable. The treatments, the false hope, the decline. It's torture.
He's in limbo.
He is in limbo, and he realizes that the only way to get out of limbo is for her to die. So he wants the death, not because he hates her, but because he needs the ending.
It's a contraction. I love her more than anything, and I want her to die.
And the guilt of that thought is eating him alive. He thinks he's evil.
But the monster, who is basically the voice of ancient wisdom here, doesn't judge him.
No, the monster says, the mind will believe comforting lies while also knowing the painful truths that make those lies necessary.
Wow.
He tells Connor that it's okay, that thoughts are just thoughts. You do not write your life with words. You write it with act.
That moment, it's like an absolution.
It is.
I think that's why people sob when they read this book. It's not just the cancer, it's the forgiveness.
It's the validation of the messiness. It tells the reader, hey, you know those terrible, dark, selfish thoughts you have? The ones you never tell anyone.
Yeah.
You aren't a monster. You're just human.
It's cognitive dissonance weaponized for emotional impact. It proves that you can be a good person and still have dark thoughts.
And that is the highest form of emotional honesty, admitting the darkness without letting it define you.
We've covered so much. The Roman a clef, story truth, vulnerability, true terror, contradictions. I want to touch on one last concept before we get to our practical exercise.
Okay.
And that is the idea of uncertainty.
The value of getting lost.
We have this article from The Atlantic by Will Hunt. He talks about how getting physically lost makes the brain open and absorbent.
It makes sense. When you know exactly where you are and where you're going, you stop looking. You're on autopilot.
Right.
But when you're lost,
Yeah.
your senses wake up. You notice the slant of the light. You notice the sounds. You are present.
And writers use this lostness to mimic how we actually think. Because we don't think in full sentences. We don't think in perfectly structured paragraphs.
No, our minds are a mess of fragments, images, memories, and questions.
There's a beautiful novella by Frederick Backman called And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer.
Even the title feels disorienting.
It's about a grandfather with dementia. He's losing his memory. And Backman represents his mind as a town square. And every day the square gets smaller.
Wow.
The road home gets longer.
It's a heartbreaking metaphor.
But here is the cool part about the honesty of it. Backman didn't write this for a publisher. He wrote it for himself.
So it was personal.
It was. He was trying to process his own thoughts about aging and letting go. He was writing to think.
He was using the story to navigate his own confusion. And because of that, it feels incredibly intimate. He isn't preaching to us. He's exploring with us.
There's a line where the grandfather says to his grandson, once your goodbye is perfect, you have to leave me and not look back.
Ooh, that is the wisdom of letting go.
And then we have Zora and Neil Hurston. Their eyes were watching God.
A master.
There is this scene with Janie, the protagonist. She's a teenager. She's standing at the gate of her grandmother's house. And she is expecting things.
But she doesn't know what thing.
Exactly. She's looking up the road. She sees the dust. She talks to the falling seeds. She imagines the world as a stallion rolling in the pasture. It's this swirl of imagery.
It captures that specific ache of adolescence, that feeling of, I know my life is out there, but I don't know what it looks like yet.
She's waiting for a future she doesn't have the vocabulary for. And Hurston doesn't force her to be.
She lets her be messy.
She lets Janie be confused. She lets her be full of longing and uncertainty.
And that feels real, because in real life, we rarely have the vocabulary for the big changes until after they happen. We stand at the gate and we wonder.
So we have all these tools. We know about the masks, the lies that tell the truth, the terror, the messiness. But now I want to turn this around to the listener. How do we apply them?
How do we find our own emotional truth?
There is a physical cue. Susan Blackwell calls it hot.
I love this term, hot make.
It sounds weird, but it's act. She says that when you are writing, or even just talking in therapy or to a friend, if your face starts to feel hot, pay attention.
Blush, heat, and
That is your body's way of saying, danger, we are getting close.
resistance.
Yes, it's the ego trying to protect you. It's saying, don't say that, that's embarrassing, that's shameful, that's too vulnerable.
And the advice, go toward the...
If you feel the heat, you are on the right track. If you are bored, the reader will. If you are safe, the reader will unmove.
Robert Frost said, no tears in the writer, no tears in the reader, no surprise in the writer, no surprise.
You have to feel it first. You have to burn a little bit.
Okay, so how do we practice?
Yeah.
Because it's scary.
We have a challenge, a practical exercise. We call this the alien exercise.
I love it.
Okay, here is the pro. I want you to pick a difficult emotion. Shame, envy, grief, rage.
Not mild annoyance. We want the heavy stuff.
Right. And I want you to write a journal entry about a time you felt that emotion, but you have to write it to an alien.
An alien who has no concept of human biology or psychology.
Exactly. This alien has no idea what embarrassment means, so you can't use the word embarrassed.
Can't use the shorthand?
No, you can't say I wanted to die. The alien thinks you are suicidal.
You have to describe the sensation.
And let's try it right now. Let's do a little improv.
Okay, hit me.
Explain. Jealous. Professional jealousy. You see someone getting the success you want. Explain that to the alien without using the word jealousy.
Okay, pause.
The alien is listening. It's waving its...
Okay, I would say. I look at the screen and I saw his face. And suddenly, it felt like I had swallowed a stone. Cold, heavy stone that sat right at the bottom of my throat.
Good. Physical sensation.
And then my hand started to tighten. I wanted to close the laptop, but I couldn't look away. It was like staring at a fire that was burning down my own house. And the strange thing was, I wanted the fire to burn.
Ooh, that's the con.
I felt a sharp, acidic taste in my mouth, like I had bitten into a lemon, and I felt small. I felt like I was shrinking physically, becoming invisible while he was becoming a giant.
That is fantastic. Shrinking, swallowing a stone, acidic taste. The alien understands that.
It forces you to bypass the cliche. You can't just say, I was green with envy. You have to reconstruct the feeling from the ground up.
And that brings out the story truth. That brings out the star-shaped hole.
It strips away the intellectualizing and leaves you with the raw.
So that is your homework, listeners. Pick a moment that still stings, a moment that makes your face hot, and explain it to the alien.
It might be the best thing you ever wrote.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I keep thinking back to that fig.
The figs dropping.
It's a scary image. We started with the fear of limitation, the fear that we can't.
And we can't. That is the reality.
Yeah.
You cannot be the Olympic champion and the famous poet and the happy mother all in the same 24 hours.
And here is the hopeful part. I think what we've learned today is that fiction and emotional honesty is the hack.
The loophole.
We can't live every life, but we can feel it. I can't go to Vietnam, but through Tim O'Brien, I can feel the weight of that war. I can carry the things.
I didn't run away from my wedding, but through Jennifer Probst, I can feel that panic. I can understand what it means to flee.
I'm not a 13-year-old boy losing his mom, but through Patrick Nuss, I can understand that specific, heartbreaking guilt.
We can taste the figs. We don't have to let them rot. We can taste them through the stories of others.
And by writing our own stories, by writing naked, we can offer our figs to someone else.
That is the connection. That is why we do this.
So we'll leave you with a final thought, a provocation.
What is the book inside?
It doesn't have to be a novel. It could be a conversation you need to have. It could be a journal. What is the thing you are afraid to say because it feels too dangerous? Too complex, too contradictory.
What is the thing that makes your face hot?
That is likely the one you should write. That is the one the world's.
Because that's the one that's true.
I want to end with Sylvia Plath again, because despite the darkness of the fig tree, she also wrote this incredible affirmation of life. She wrote, I took a deep breath and listened to the old brag of my heart. I am, I am, I am.
I am.
You are. We are. Thanks for diving duck with us today. Go find your truth.
Even if it scares you.
Especially if it's. See you next time.